Miyamoto was surprised at the similarities between Ocarina of Time and Princess Mononoke. That's according to a newly translated interview. So, seeing this headline, I thought this was actually pretty cool because I've made it clear in some of my other videos. I can't remember which one it was off the top of my head, but I know I've talked about it in some of my other videos where I love the Studio Ghibli films. And I've stated again, I know some people say Ghibli. I always say Ghibli, so that's just how I pronounce it. But as far as the Studio Ghibli films, I love a lot of them. I've seen almost every single one of them. And I gotta say, out of all of them, my favorite is Princess Mononoke. So the fact that there was, this interview coming out talking about how Princess Mononoke had the similarities with Ocarina of Time and vice versa. I think that's actually really cool, and I feel like it kind of goes hand in hand with probably the reason why I love Princess Mononoke so much. Now, when it came down to the two, I actually experienced Ocarina of Time first because I think I was like 4 or 5 the first time I ever played Ocarina of Time, and then when it came down to Princess Mononoke, I saw that like years later. I think it wasn't until like 2012, 13 that I had seen that movie for the first time. So a big gap and a big difference in between those two. But yeah, as far as all of his movies goes, it I think it was Princess Mononoke that I liked the most. Or it was Princess Mononoke, and then after that it was Nausicaa. So those were like the main two that I really enjoy a lot. And then obviously after that it'll probably be Spirited Away. But yeah, hearing that there were so many similarities between this game and that movie, I thought was actually really cool. So I figured it was something I can go ahead and talk about and do a video on. So just go ahead and check out the little bit of the article that we got here, and then I'll give my thoughts as we go along, per usual. So, a newly translated interview has revealed some incredible new insights into the development of the 1998 Nintendo 64 classic, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. This includes some amazing details, such as that Miyamoto once considered the 64DD version of Ocarina of Time to be completed, that Nintendo's employees wanted to have Link ride a moose or a unicorn instead of Epona, and that the series creator was apparently surprised at the similarities between the game and the Studio Ghibli 1997 animated film Princess Mononoke when he first saw it. And it was kind of one of those things. They'll get into it a little bit later into the article, but what it does mention how when he says that he was surprised at the similarities between the two games, the main reason for that was because of the fact that they were released really close around the same time. So obviously, when it was done and kind of they were pretty much almost done with development, and the game was pretty much ready to be released, there was a lot of similarities between the two, which at the time, if you look back at it now, you can be like, oh, did they like steal some stuff from each other or something like that? But no, with them being so close to being, in development with one another, it was one of those things. I'm sure that when they seen it, they're like, hey, like that's actually pretty crazy that we had a lot of similar ideas and everything like that, which is really cool in my opinion. I think that's actually awesome that that ended up happening that way. So, the interview in question was originally published in the February 1998 edition of the multi format Japanese magazine Gaimjin and was recently translated and formatted into English by Rory J. and Javed Starrett for the video games website goodblood.games. So, yeah, that is one of the things I was able to kind of check out the interview, and it is a good interview so far. I haven't read the whole thing. I think I'm like halfway, maybe a little bit further through. And yeah, it just goes into a lot of detail as far as the game and what their thoughts were behind it and how a lot of their consideration was to actually use the 64DD version, so actually making Zelda Ocarina of Time be a disc game instead of on a cartridge. But they mentioned how a lot of the hardware and stuff like that worked out better using the cartridge than the disc because there were things like the audio being able to happen in real time with the different characters and stuff because you were able they were able to actually have more data go through with the cartridge than the discs that they were able to use at the time. So it's pretty cool. I mean, I'd recommend it if you want to go ahead and check it out and you just see what's stated in it and everything like that if you're a fan of the Ocarina of Time game. So it's something just to get a little bit more insight, which is always a cool thing to do. And then we got the post here, the new Zelda translation. Ocarina of Time staff wanted Epona to be a unicorn or a moose inspired by Princess Mononoke. We never imagined we'd rival Princess Mononoke, Shigeru Miyamoto. And then if you want to read the full article, you can go ahead and click on this. If you just go to this website here and then you can check it out. So time extension, and then yeah, just click here and you'll be able to see what it is. So as outlined in the transcript on that site, the topic of Studio Ghibli came up in the interview after the interviewer asked about the wildlife in Hyrule, including why Link can continuously abuse cuckoos, which is pretty funny because they do kind of get a little bit into the reasoning behind why there's chickens in it and what you can do with them, kind of being able to use them to glide around and stuff like that, which is pretty funny. So this then led onto the topic of Epona, with Miyamoto then sharing the following about the development of Link's beloved companion and how it threw up some similarities to the 1997 Hayao Miyazaki film. During development, some staff argued about making it a unicorn or a moose, but in the end, we ended up going with a horse. The game was certainly almost influenced by Ghibli's Mr. Miyazaki's Princess Mononoke. Both works were roughly in development around the same time, and when we finished, I was surprised at the similarities. Scenes of Link firing the bow and arrow while riding Epona, or the giant Goron walking behind the mountains, stirred thoughts like, oh, that's Ashitaka, or that looks like the Nightwalker. We really struggled with the similarities. However, in the end, we decided to really build up Hyrule this time to differentiate it. And yeah, that was one of the cool things, was that there are a lot of similarities for anyone that has seen, Princess Mononoke and been able to play Ocarina of Time. When you look at it, especially with that type of lens, and I'm sure that that's kind of what they were able to do at that time, since the game was just released and like was just finished development as the movie was just released. So being able to see that, I'm sure it would have been really easy to kind of see the big similarities between the two, especially with, I'm sure, Princess Mononoke being such a big, film at the time and everything like that once it was released. So I think that's actually pretty cool that they were able to kind of see that in that sense. So if you're interested, you can read the rest of the translation on googleblood.games alongside translations of interviews with Zelda developers who worked on games like Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, and The Wind Waker. So yeah, it was just, yeah, really cool read so far. Like I said, I haven't done the whole thing, so I still got to go back and just check out what the rest of the article talks about. But as far as them talking about the similarities and everything like that, that just really put a smile on my face because, I love this game and I love this movie. So seeing that there was a lot of similarities between the two was really cool. And the fact that they were actually considering making Epona either a unicorn or a moose. If they would have made it a unicorn, I guess it could probably still work because, you know what I mean, it is like a fantasy world and everything like that. And then as far as having a moose, I feel like that probably would have been a little bit too similar to Princess Mononoke. It would have probably felt like they were kind of ripping it off. But if I feel like it would have been interesting. Looking back now, I'm like, I don't know if I would feel like that would work, but more than likely, if they decided to go that route back then, we probably would look at it now like that's just what it is, and we would probably be so used to it at this point. So I think that's actually pretty funny. But yeah, I think this is great news. I think it's always cool to kind of get some back information from way back when about how the development went on and what was going through their heads when they were making the game. So it's pretty cool in my opinion. So those are my thoughts on that. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Is there any Princess Mononoke fans and Ocarina of Time fans? And did you guys always look at that as being similar at the time, or was it something you kind of realized like myself later on? So if you guys can let me know your thoughts in the comments, if you guys could like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you guys have been watching this long, I really appreciate it. It means a lot. And yeah, until next time, Harmonic out. Peace.